Greetings, and welcome back to the MCOC Encyclopedia. Today, we'll be continuing our journey into Act 7, covering all of the easiest paths. If multiple paths are an option to quest, I will cover them all. Remember, these are just what I found easier, and your roster and experiences may vary. So let's dive in. Act 7, Chapter 2, Quest number 6. Time for the video that literally no one has asked for. Today we have 3 path options, one for the easiest path, but will make the boss a little bit harder, one for the normal path, so no modifiers on the boss, and one that could make the boss very, very easy, but the path is a bit trickier. First up we have the easy path, which is up and right towards Ultron. Here we have buff Synthesis, Fury and Precision, Special Connoisseur, Icarus, and Matador. Buff Synthesis means if we have a Fury buff on us, and then trigger a Precision buff, but not the other way around, they will both be consumed and we gain an indefinite 50% prowess buff, and these stack indefinitely. Special Connoisseur means that the defender takes 90% less damage, except from special attacks, where we have an active prowess buff, not passive. Icarus means that whenever we hit the defender, we gain a Fury buff, but if they expire or we have more than 8, we will also be degened. Heavy attacks allow us to safely remove all Furies. This was the global we saw back in 6.2.3, the Omega Red quest. And finally, Matador means that the only way we can gain power is by gaining 1 bar whenever the defender throws a special attack. Doesn't matter which one they throw, we gain 1 bar. Really, anyone can take this path. Hit them for Furies, Dex for Precision or trigger your own, and then drop some very big special attacks. You don't need a champion with their own access to Furies, and as long as you aren't completely buff immune, most champions will be able to drop these fights in 1 special 2 if you stacked up enough prowess. For path option number 2, we have the linkless path out to the left towards Spider-Ham. Here we have Energy Adoption Fire, Shake It Off, Shifting Immunity, Bleed and Poison, and Bleed Vulnerability. Energy Adoption Fire we have seen before. Making contact with the opponent has a 50% chance to place a tiny incinerate on you, but if they are bleeding, then they won't. If you incinerate them, then they will heal 1% of their max health per second. Shake It Off we saw back in 7.1.5. When a skill champion dashes back, they will shrug off debuffs. The more you dash back, the more you shrug, although at least according to the listing. Actually in practice this seems like it might be slightly bugged, but dash back and you will remove debuffs. Shifting Immunity, Bleed and Poison will cause the defender to start the fight bleed immune, then after 10 seconds switch to poison immune, then after 10 seconds switch back to bleed immune, and so on. What makes this path annoying are the defenders. We have Spider-Ham, Mordo, Red Guardian, Annihilus, Mr. Fantastic, and Longshot. So 4 out of 6 are right up there in terms of being really quite annoying. We do have Bleed Vulnerability and Shake It Off to use to our advantage, but if you aren't comfortable fighting these champions, then I would look to one of the other paths or see the follow-up video for how I deal with them. Coming soon, TM. For our attackers, we have 2 choices. Either we go for the Ghost and Kingpin route, again, to take advantage of all the debuffs, or we bring strong bleeders and just watch out for the bleed immunity phase. Play aggressively and deal all the damage you can whilst they can be bled, then dance around and play more passively and slowly whilst they are immune. Nick Fury, Moleman, Shield, Black Cat, Black Panther, Blade, Hitmonkey, Jabari Panther, Killmonger and so on will all do well here, but watch out for those nasty defenders. Throw special attacks as soon as you get them against Piggy, so he can't build his charges. No charges, no evades, fewer power stings. Keep the power gain off Mordo and don't hit him while he's stunned. We have a whole video on the channel about Annihilus that I'll link in the top right and down below, and stick to the special 1s versus Longshot, particularly when he has his Pure of Heart active, or you will get melted very quickly. Our third path option is, in my opinion, the hardest of the 3 paths, but can help you get the easiest time against the Gwenmaster. We are going out to the right towards Old Man Logan. Here we will find Debuff Synthesis, Stun and Armor Break, Mixmaster, Hit Me I Dare You, and Armored Assault. Mixmaster we just saw in 7.2.4. Attempting the same action twice will cause the defender to evade. Remember though, as always, they cannot evade whilst stunned. Debuff Synthesis means that if the defender is stunned, and you then inflict them with an armor break debuff, but not the other way around, They will both be consumed, and you will inflict the opponent with a relatively small cold snap for 10 seconds. But more importantly, whilst the opponent is cold snapped, they can't evade. Hit Me I Dare You means every 10 hits the opponent will gain an armor up buff, which isn't too bad, until you combine it with Armored Assault. That gives the defender 65% more attack rating, and an unblockable passive, whilst they have an armor up buff. Doesn't matter how many they have, 1 or 100, they're still being unblockable. Champions with easy access to armor break are our best options here. Angela, Annihilus, Captain Marvel Movie, Corvus, Cosmic Ghost Rider, Cull Obsidian, both King Groot, Null, Medusa, Silver Surfer, Superior Iron Man, Venom, Vision Arcus, and so on can all take this path, but you've got to watch out for that unblockable and that evade. Evade counters themselves can also work, but you'll need to watch out for the unblockable, and buff control champions can also work well, but you'll need to watch out for the evades. The primary tricky fight on this path is Emma Frost, but with all the armor breaks on offer, you can quite easily shut down her diamond form. The reason that we may choose to struggle through this path is because of the infamous linked node to the Gwenmaster, Juiced, and we will come on to that later. And if this video is helping you at all, please, armor break that like button. For story reasons, just before the boss there is a very small normal Gwen pool, but she isn't even worth talking about. She's unnoded and you probably have more PI than she does. This does, however, give us 2 champion swappers in this quest, so do use them if you need them. This fight can also be a very cheeky place if you want to, say, put Odin pre-fights on a champion, to swap in Odin, put them down, take that fight with that champion, and then swap Odin out again for another helpful champion. Not required by any means, as we'll see when we cover the boss, but just a suggestion. Right, the Gwenmaster. The most meta boss in the entire game, and one of my personal favourites. In my opinion, she is a more refined version of what the Grandmaster should have been. Nothing is left to chance, you know exactly what is coming, when it is coming, and what to do about it. As a quick aside, if you want to read over her abilities in full, or the ability of any of the other big bosses or champions, I cannot recommend Khonshu's Ankh enough. It has all of the abilities for every champion, but also for the big bosses. Really helpful to have open on another screen if you want to be able to pause the fight and read the next section before you get there. I will link it down below. First up then, the Gwenmaster's passive abilities, and then we'll dive into the fight itself. Gwen has unfair boss abilities. That means she cannot take more than 5% of her maximum health for a single hit. But given she has nearly 5 million health, this comes out to just under 240,000 damage. Most champions aren't going to be hitting that hard anyway. Secondly, all damaging effects, so that's passives and debuffs, inflicted on her have 100% reduced potency, and all debuffs have 50% reduced duration as well. Gwen is also immune to Special Lock, Power Drain, Power Steal, and Power Burn effects. Basically, you can't mess with her power bar or specials in any way. She will also nerf your attackers in the fight, reducing your ability power rate by 75%. This is ability power rate, not combat power rate, so it'll affect champions like Hyperion, Vision Arcus, that sort of thing, with power gain buffs, but not how much power you gain from hitting her or being hit. That's combat power rate. Gwen also doesn't care about your ability accuracy, and along with her own extreme confidence, she is immune to all ability accuracy modification. Finally, Gwen ain't afraid of no ghosts, so her special 1 and all basic attacks cannot miss. A lot here, but most of it won't come up. Now for the fight itself. The fight itself has 6 defined stages, 1 for each class. They start with Mutant and then rotate via class disadvantage. So after Mutant it's Skill, after Skill it's Science, after Science it's Cosmic, after Cosmic it's Tech, and then Tech goes back to Mutant if she isn't dead by that point. Each stage, also referred to as plot armors, has a 30-second timer, and you must complete the prompt for that stage in that time. Completing the prompt will end the stage early and give Gwen passive prowess for each 5 seconds left on the timer. It is good for us that Gwen gains the passive, as we will see in a bit. Whilst the timer is active, Gwen cannot throw her special 2. Each stage has 1 prompt attached to it, so what is going to happen is always predictable and the same. If you die, you will go back into the stage that you left off at. It will reset, but you won't start again from the mutant phase. We can, however, pause the countdown on Gwen by intercepting her, or by punishing her heavy attacks special attacks, or combo-ending attacks. Once the timer expires, either naturally or once you have done the prompt, Gwen's power will be set to 2 bars of power and her special 2 is unlocked. When Gwen then throws the special 2, you will be stunned, but Gwen hasn't quite worked out how to aim the isosphere yet, causing all of her attacks to miss. However, Kabam will just deal direct damage to you instead. However, if you succeeded on the prompt, Kabam will deal this damage to Gwen, and this is where we will get the vast majority of our damage from if you took the first or second path. This is why putting prowess on Gwen is a good thing, as she will take more direct Kabam damage. After this special attack, both champions' power reset to 0, and Gwen will purify any debuffs on her. If you are quick, there is enough time after the special attack has finished to dash in before she can recover, even though you have been stunned, and this is a great way to kick off the next phase, putting you in control. Whilst we are covering specials, Gwen's special 1 does something different in every phase, so we will cover them when we cover the phases, but her special 3, like the Grandmaster, will just kill you instantly. No getting around this with Herc or Heimdall, instant KO. So now let's look at each plot armor or phase. There will be a lot of information in this section, so I would recommend watching it a few times, because you need to know what is going on in each phase. Having Khonshu's Ankh open at the same time can also help in the middle of the fight. First up, we have the mutant phase, which is based on Emma Frost. Gwen will enter diamond form, causing her to be immune to critical hits as well as all debuffs. Whenever Gwen is 1 power level above you, i.e. she has 1 bar when you have none, she has 2 when you have 1, and so on, her diamond form is removed and she gains a prowess passive. In this phase only, the special 1 will reverse your controls, but it is still fairly simple to dex. It's Gwen's normal special 1. To beat this phase, you simply need to dex the special 1 when she has 4 or more prowess. I find it best to use your special 1 to push her to her special 1. This will make sure that she is 1 bar of power ahead of you, so her form switches and she gains the prowess. You then have to remember to switch her back to diamond form, so that when she leaves it, she can gain her next prowess. It can feel strange trying to switch her form at times, but you will get the hang of it eventually. Plot armor number 2 is skill, which is based on Killmonger. Gwen gains 60 counter-punch charges, which grant her unstoppable whenever she blocks her attack, just like Killmonger's special 1. We can remove 1 of these each time we hit her regularly, and 3 if we knock her down. Striker hits do count here and will remove her charges. Her special 1 will trigger a 100% damage reflect for physical damage from your special attacks. This plot armor is removed when she has no counter-punch charges left. Best to hit Gwen and try and backdraft as much as possible, but don't throw special attacks when she has that damage reflect up, or there is a good chance that it is instant night-night time. Do remember in this phase though that you can go back to stunning Gwen. She's not immune like she was in the first phase in her diamond form, and unlike Killmonger, she won't gain extra power for you stunning her. Just keep an eye on that timer. Plot armor number 3 is Science and Invisible Woman. Gwen gains a force field that has just under 300,000 health. Simply destroy the force field to end the phase. You can gain a 300% Fury passive here for intercepting Gwen, and this stacks, or whenever you throw a special attack. We can cheese this fight slightly here if you have Stealth Suit Spider-Man, as he can pause Fury passives on himself by dashing back, and he will gain so much damage that once the force field is gone, you can pretty much take out the rest of her health with regular attacks. Here, the special 1 will cause Gwen to go invisible, like Invisible Woman. It starts paused, but is unpaused if she is bleeding or you miss her. Do remember though, bleeds, if they are debuffs, will have half duration. There is plenty of time that after she throws the special attack, you can dash in and do a missed hit and then dash out before she has a chance to recover. Or you can simply parry stun her, do 1 hit that misses, back off and wait for it to go away. This phase isn't too bad if you can intercept a few times for some silly damage, but if she isn't feeling it, then it can be tricky. Plot armor number 4 is Mystic and Dr. Doom. Here, Gwen gains a modified version of Doom's Aura of Hazarath, granting her an unstoppable effect against attacks that have already knocked her down in this phase. She will also very slowly steal your power, however I really haven't noticed this effect much at all. Each time you do knock her down, you will gain a 45% energize buff, increasing your combat power rate. Here, Gwen's special 1 in this phase will inflict you with a 0 damage shock passive for 2 seconds, plus 2 seconds more for each energize on you. Just like Doctor Doom, Gwen will be able to passively stun you if she charges heavy whilst you are shocked. To destroy this plot armor, you simply need to knock her down with a heavy, a special 1, a special 2, and a special 3, but remember you can only do each one once. I would do them in this order, as the energizers will help you get to higher energies much quicker. Plot armor number 5 is Cosmic and Vision Arcus. I think personally this is the one I find the most difficult. When you are close to Gwen, she will gain 10% of a bar of power each second. While she is far away from you though, she will inflict you with an armor break. Gwen also cheats in this fight, so this ignores armor break immunity. Trust me, this is good. The special 1 here activates a frozen air buff for 10 seconds, causing armor broken champions near Gwen to gain cold snap passives. To destroy this armor, simply knock her down when you have 10 armor breaks. This phase is all about maintaining distance, but you also need to keep an eye on that timer. You need to intercept her and knock her down on occasionally to pause it, otherwise you will not have time to build all of those armor breaks. And finally, plot armor number 6, Tech and Iron Man Infinity War. After this plot armor, we go back to Mutant and Emma Frost if she's not down by this point. Gwen gains 6 armor up passives, plus another one every 14 seconds. If you armor break her, this timer is paused, though the main phase timer is not. You can remove these armor ups by breaking her block, or more easily doing light ending combos. Once she has no armors left, the plot armor is destroyed. Here, the special 1 grants Gwen an indefinite 100% auto block charge, and this can stun you. The only way to remove this is by heavy countering her heavy attack, though doing this will also remove an armor passive. Right, go back and watch that section again. You need to know what's going on, otherwise you are going to start throwing revives at any given section, which will lead to tilt and annoyance. So, the fight will go something like this. You will start in the Emma Frost phase, you will give her prowess, you will dex the special 1 with reverse controls for this phase, before the timer runs out. Regardless of whether you do this or not, once it runs out, Gwen will go to special 2 and throw it. You will be stunned, and all of her attacks will miss. If you failed, Kabam will slap you with some direct damage. If you succeeded, Gwen gets it instead. The faster you succeed in each phase, the more damage Gwen takes. You then move to the skill phase with Killmonger, and the cycle continues until one of you falls over. If you die and go again, you will go back to that phase, though that phase will reset. For example, if you die in the Cosmic Arcus stage when you had 9 armor breaks, you will start the Cosmic Arcus stage again, but now with no armor breaks. So, who is best for this fight? Well, really? We can use anyone. There is no special requirement on this fight at all. The phases boil down to dex, hit her shield, throw specials, maintain distance, and hit her correctly. There are 3 pieces of utility that might help you, and we will touch on some generally good options as well, but by no means are any of these required. These are helpful, not required. Firstly, reverse control's immune for that first phase. Personally, I find the deck simple enough that it isn't required, but if it's something you are struggling with, then bringing someone like Professor X, Juggernaut, Mr. Sinister, Moondragon, and so on can help make this phase easier. Secondly, if you are cold snap immune, this can help with the Arcus phase. You'll still be armor broken, but you can avoid the damage. It isn't much, and maintaining space is the key to this phase, but reducing chip damage is always good. And finally, in the Iron Man Infinity War phase, armor breaking Gwen will pause that timer. This is the only thing that is really helpful in this fight, but we have plenty of good options. See the list I gave above, but Angela, Annihilus, Captain Marvel Movie, Corvus, Cosmic Ghost Rider, Cull Obsidian, both King Groots, Null, Medusa, Silver Surfer, Superior Iron Man, Venom, Vision Arcus himself, and so on. There are many, many good armor break options you can use. But you don't need to use any of them. So, therefore, my recommendations for this fight are simply this. Bring your biggest champions and ones you are comfortable using. If they are tanky, even better. Regen, love it. Armor ups, very helpful. Perfect block, why not? A good thing about the Gwenmaster is that she doesn't hit that hard on her basic attacks, so you can take a few hits and be okay. Champions with easy access to intercepts like Juggernaut or Moleman can be helpful for pausing the phase timer if you're struggling with that. So, now we need to look at our 2 linked nodes. The Spider-Man path doesn't have one, but the Ultron and the Old Man Logan paths do. The Ultron link is called Banded Aid. When knocked down, Gwen will gain a regeneration passive, regenerating 5% of her missing health over 14 seconds. However, simply hitting her will remove this regeneration and grant you 20% of a bar of power. It is up to you if you want the potentially easier path, but we'll have to face this minor regeneration. It really isn't hugely important at the start of the fight, and whilst it can be a little more impactful at the end, with simply one hit you can remove it and gain some power for yourself. And now for the infamous Juiced node. This node makes it that whenever you succeed in a phase, Gwen will take no damage, not a single point. But every 10 seconds you will gain a stacking 300% Fury passive. If you take this path, all you have to do is survive a few phases with one champion, and your base damage will be so high you can sort of forget entirely how the fight works. Here I'm using a 7-star rank 1 Colossus, and I'm only in the second phase of the fight and she's almost down. We're hitting for 100k on the basic attacks. This path can make Gwen very, very easy, but if and when you come to 100% this quest, you will have to learn how to deal with her properly. So finally, our team. Well, that depends entirely on our path. If we go for the Ultron path, we can sort of bring anyone, so I'll be focusing on the boss. Cull and Roblin will work well for the path, and for the armor breaks on Gwen, so they'll take slots 1 and 2, and Jugs in slot 3 will help for our intercepts. We have 2 slots left that I'm going to fill with some tanky champions. Colossus is very tanky and has a nice synergy with Juggernaut, so he gets slot 4, and Doom is also a mega tank, so I will give slot 5 to him. I can't emphasise enough how much you need to sub in your own champions for who you are comfortable with and who you know you will survive with. This fight has no special requirements, and bringing a champion you are comfortable with or one you have ranked up is very, very important. If we take the Spider-Ham path, now we need some path counters. Moleman, Blade and Nick Fury will be very good here and can also help for the boss. Medusa will be very nice for the armor up phase, and now we're just back to choosing tanky champions. OG Iron Man has a lot of armor and a decent regen, so he can have slot 5. For the Juice path, Angela, Medusa and Venom will clear the path, and Sasquatch and Joe Fixit will clear the boss. So, future encyclopedia here, Angela isn't great for the path, but she is pretty good for the boss with her constant regen and armor breaks as required for the Iron Man phase. I will be using her in the follow-up video, but she isn't the best if you want a path counter. Great for one of the other 2 teams though, if you don't have some of the champions mentioned there. Back to past tense me. Fairly soon after this video goes out, I will try and get up a long commentated video of me going through all 3 of these paths with the exact teams I suggest above, and we will be showing the boss on each of the 3 paths with different champions and the different linked nodes. It'll be much more relaxed, but I should hopefully give some more insight into how I look at getting around these issues and this boss. I will also answer any popular questions from the comments of this video and that video, so please leave yours down below. As always, remember that this is story content, so it won't be going anywhere anytime soon. If you get stuck here and find yourself spending lots of resources, stop and focus on something else. The monthly event quests and side quests are a great place to pick up more materials, shards and units, as are battlegrounds and the arena. So that's it. Everything you need to know to clear all of 7.2.6. We are really pushing on with the Act 7 guides to try and get as many people Paragon as possible before December, so that is where my focus is currently at. However, if there's anything else you would like to see, do let me know down below. I also have a Discord server, so please go and join that, linked in the description. A great place to get specific advice, make suggestions for future video topics, and as long as I'm awake, I do my best to be there as much as possible. If you have any questions, please do leave them down below, and please do all the YouTube stuff. Thank you, and I will see you next time.